1915 by Robert Graves. I've watched the seasons passing slow, so slow, in the fields between La Bassée and Bethune, primroses and the first warm day of spring, red poppy floods of June, August and yellowing autumn. So to winter nights, knee-deep in mud or snow, and you've been everything. Dear, you've been everything that I most lack in these soul-deadening trenches. Pictures, books, music, the quiet of an English wood, beautiful comrade looks, the narrow, bouldered mountain track, the broad, full-bosomed ocean, green and black, and peace, and all that's good. About this poem. Considered by scholars to be addressed to Robert Graves's schoolboy crush, G.H. Peter Johnstone, 1915 was published in the collection, Fairies and Fusiliers, written during Graves's service in World War I. About the poet, Dustin Ward, a retired professor of English at the University of London Institute in Paris, writes in his essay, Poetic Correspondence, the Verse Letters of Robert Graves, published in The Robert Graves Review, Issue 3. Graves's romantic vision of Johnstone had sustained him through all the wartime horrors. Dear, you've been everything that I most lack in these soul-deadening trenches, he wrote. In October 1915, he had described Johnstone in idealistic terms as my best friend, a poet long before I'll ever be one, a radiant and unusual creature.
Music is alive. It's a living, breathing entity. It only became wrapped in plastic and sold as a commodity in recent years. It's always been. And that's kind of one of the things that was really beautiful about Dark Side of the Moon is that this was the first time they shaped an album live because they played it live for almost a year before they recorded it, or they recorded parts of it and went out and changed it and all of that. And in fact, there was uh, what do you call it? A bootleg that came out while they were making it, and it sold 100,000 copies.
A good sign.
And they were like, maybe we won't put this album out.
Oh,
Maybe they were like, what are we gonna do? I mean, they weren't selling records like that
no,
before Dark Side of the Moon.
not even close.
Dark Side of the Moon was make it or break it, man.
Yeah.
Just like Tommy was for the Who. This was make it or break it for the Floyd. They were really heading down the tubes. Try to find, I don't know if you remember, but trying to find a Pink Floyd album in America before Dark Side of the Moon was no easy task. Maybe
Yeah.
Guma was the first one you could really find.
Right. Yeah, I remember sorting through bins and just tripping. I go, oh, Adam Hart Mother. No one has this, and no one, and just filtering back, and certainly back to the Sid era, you would never see Saucer Full of Secrets.
Yeah, I mean, some of the early records really hard to find. I remember that this weird kid on the block, he was the weird kid for sure. he had Piper at the Gates of Dawn.
Whoa.
And I just remember holding it and looking at it and looking at those guys in the kaleidoscope shot and thinking, this is really weird. I mean, like the Stones and the Beatles all wore wild clothes by that point. There was something really weird about them. I don't know what it was that struck me as being so strange about them. And then you hear Interstellar Overdrive, and it's like, oh my God. It was just like I was brought up around. My sister had jazz records. She had this boyfriend. I had heard jazz. I had heard Charles Lloyd and Yusef Lateef and Roland Kirk and Miles Davis and all that stuff. So I kind of understood what improvised music was and everything like that. But there was something. And then you hear songs like Bike and Gnome, and you're like, what is going on here? And then you realize this is perfect soundtrack for reading The Hobbit too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Right? It was like hand in hand with The Hobbit. So, and you can understand why Roger Waters had had enough of being in Hobbitville. You can understand why he wanted to make that break. Now, one of the things that's really interesting for me about doing this book was I found out that he was really influenced by Plastic Ono Band, by John singing the truth, the hard truths.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so he started to make a list of all these things that he wanted to sing about. And when he thought that the band should, like, confront and talk about. And many of those issues are in the lyrics of Dark Side of the Moon. And I thought, wow, this is kind of interesting. They were both recorded at Abbey Road. And they both sort of like, okay, this is kind of like, you know, I'm not the greatest Roger Waters fan on the block. I'm just not.
Right.
To me, this is, Eclipse was the great Pink Floyd Kumbaya moment. It's all inclusive. It's almost like, uh, we'll meet again. Don't know why. Don't know. No. Don't know where. Don't know when.
Yeah.
It's almost sonically to me. It's up there with Beethoven's Ninth, the Ode to Joy, in a way. I think that will be a classic piece of music for all time because it's all inclusive. It's universal. It's a universal symbol.
Yeah.
This album is a universal symbol that goes beyond culture, politics, what have you, religion. Somebody, I think it was Joe Boyd, talked about nobody really imagined that this record would be on a cassette deck in, like, New Delhi or Rio at the same time. Nobody had any idea that, you would be in Los Angeles, New Delhi, Rio, Johannesburg. Cab drivers in every city on earth were listening to Dark Side of the Moon.
Because it has both a universal sound, but these common themes. I said that Waters did his best at not being pedantic about it. They're open.
Yeah. To me, I'm not the greatest Pink Floyd fan after the fact. There are certainly moments on Wish You Were Here that to me are glorious.
Yeah.
And I definitely like bits and pieces here and there. But also, as a writer, I have to say that, like, when I did the Orbison book, there's a lot of Roy Orbison songs and albums, especially after Pretty Woman, after 1965, after his children are killed in a fire and his wife dies in a motorcycle accident. And he's like a walking zombie of sorts, just trying to get through life because his family has just died.
Sure.
And he's basically going down to the studio and recording stock, whatever it is that they give him to sing. His albums on MGM, some of them are unlistenable. I remember saying to my sweetheart, I don't know how I can write this book. I don't know how I can do it. I can't listen to this. But being objective is really a very important part of this job. I am not always fanboy by any means. The Rassan book, I was fanboy.
Yeah, I think so.
But I also learned enough to step back from it.
Well, I think this experience is probably going to be a little bit like your book. And why I was so looking forward to talking with you, and even notes that we sent back and forth. I enjoy an eclectic talk.
Well, that's really great because I actually took notes. I was
Okay.
like going, because I haven't, I handed this book in last June.
Mm.
And since last June, I've probably written like 8 articles or 6 articles and played a number of gigs and played on other people's records. And it's like, I better go back and revisit this. And I was like looking around to go, okay, I got to make sure I mention this, or, talking with Shel Talmy, which was such a great experience because
Wow.
he was producing records at the same time as Pink Floyd was coming up. He was producing the Kinks and the Who, in London. What was the atmosphere? What was the scene? That's what I want to know. How many times I've heard and experienced the fact that talking to the person who was involved in it somehow directly wasn't always the best interview.
Right.
Ringo's going to give you a piece of the loaf. Yeah, it's already up on Amazon. I'll
Good.
send you the artwork, which was really a great thing to be able to have Cork Marqueske's sculpture as the background imagery with the photograph of Pink Floyd on the cover, and then to interview Cork in the book about the history of electronic sound because he knows all about the Buchla synthesizer and had been, in one of the very first electronic rock bands, and they actually filled in one night for Pink Floyd when Pink Floyd couldn't get their equipment through customs, and so they filled in, I think, at the Fillmore or Winterland for these books are such a cathartic learning experience. When people say, "Oh, well, you must be an expert on," no, I don't know anything about it. But I love it, and that's why I'm writing about it.
Shining that light. I think that's what I was getting at, is that you may have written books about subjects where the subject would actually like to read about it.
You said it, brother. You just said it. Because somebody told me somebody knew somebody whose daughter was friends with David Gilmour, right? Their daughter and David Gilmour's daughter are like best friends. And I was like, the greatest thing that could happen with this book is that David Gilmour would sit down and read this book and go, wow, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
The Dangers have been ensconced in the studio working on our next album, but we're going to take a break, and on Friday, July the 10th, we're going to play at the Packing House Brewery in Riverside, California. We really like to play at that venue. It ends up, I don't know, the sound of that place makes us a tougher band. So we're looking for a great turnout. We had a good turnout at our Taking It to the Streets benefit charity thing. They made a lot of money, and I want to keep that going, and proceeds for sales we do at the Packing House, we'll also donate to the Taking It to the Streets organization to help pets, the homeless. So I'll see you at 7 o'clock, July the 10th. That's a Friday, and we'll play until they tell us to stop, which could be hours.
See these two portable radios? Well, watch this. Let her go, Betsy. Sorry, friend. You old-style portables have to go. But look at our new RCA Victor portable radio. Came through without a chip. Here's the world's first and only portable radio in the non-breakable impact case. So rugged, it's the only radio case with a 5-year guarantee against chipping, cracking, or breaking in normal use. Of course, a tube might jar loose, but that's easily fixed. The important thing is RCA Victor's non-breakable impact case means no chipping, no cracking, no breaking. And hear that tone. It's RCA Victor's great golden throat sound. See the world's only portables with the non-breakable impact case as low as $27.95 at your RCA Victor dealers.
Egyptian teleportation ritual. She bit his icy neck, is draining the life out of him, replenishing her own cherished youth. Subdivided her cells, commingling with those of the leopard with the reptile head. The Redeemer. She tested his wrath, teased and offended. How the Nile flows, how the Nile flows, how the Nile flows, flows. Shining ships, flying information over the canyon, piercing the atmosphere, secret cargo at the destination unknown. Last hope for a desperate world. The little girl in the canyon pointed upward shouting, "The sky is pregnant! The 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 sky is pregnant!
I'm David Lowry from Camper Van Beethoven. I'm here in my private jet. I'm on my way to Davos, right? Okay. To announce the reissue of the Camper Van Beethoven album 2 and 3. I wanted to point out the CD copy of this album though first, or focus on the CD version of this album, because the CD version of this album has 2 discs. The vinyl is glorious. It's this lovely green color, but it's just the original album. Whereas this, the CD version, has 2 discs. So we have the original album here, and then we have a second disc, which is a live album recorded in 1986 on the tour we did with REM. And the live album is called not Live in Nebraska. No, it's not called Live in Nebraska. It's called Live in Nebraska, because the title of the record is actually a command. We want you to live in Nebraska. There's some lovely cities to live in Nebraska. Of course, you've heard of Omaha. Lincoln is a lovely college town where University of Nebraska is, right? But there's also some other lovely places. If you're into cattle ranching, you might want to live in Platt, Nebraska. Or if you can't get into University of Nebraska, you can in Lincoln, you can get into the satellite campus in Kearney, Nebraska. Okay? So Live in Nebraska is the second disc in Camper Van Beethoven's 2 and 3 album reissue. Second disc, unreleased live show, Live in Nebraska. Hope you enjoy it.
She's a cloud, whispered loud, in a gingham dress and shroud. She's a bell, never swell. In those yellow days I fell.
A while back, we had a great show at Lo-Fi Studios, the 5 Seasons, which really are 5 really groovy songwriters. And John Kruth, who's not only a great writer, he's also a great songwriter too, and he plays a wonderful tune that night, Gargoyle Girl.
I wrote this song a long time ago, and it's taken a lot of different shapes, and but it just keeps coming back into my life. And it goes like this. I wrote it so long ago that CBGB's was still open at the end of my block. Wow. Yeah. In the arms of a creature in a little French cafe, on my oriental rug in your trashy lingerie, bored with the stories of brimstone and fire, atop your marble throne, grimace at the choir. Oh, my gargoyle girl, gargoyle girl, gargoyle girl, watch over my world, gargoyle girl, gargoyle girl, gargoyle girl, watch over my world. Dancing with a hunchback all night at CBGB's, lying by the pool in a polka dot bikini, hair entangled snakes in your grin carved out of granite, living on the streets of New York, Rome, and Paris. Oh, my gargoyle girl, my gargoyle girl, my gargoyle girl, watch over my world, gargoyle girl, my gargoyle girl, gargoyle girl, watch over my world. Born in the cellar of some poet's imagination, a horrible monster in some people's eyes. Sticking your tongue out at the whole congregation, flapping your wings above the city you fly, fly away, Willie. Gargoyle girl, gargoyle girl, gargoyle girl, watch over my world, gargoyle girl, my gargoyle girl, gargoyle girl, watch over my world. Dancing with a hunchback all night at CBGB, lying by the pool in a hair entangled snakes, your grin carved out of granite, living on the streets of New York, Rome, and Paris. Oh, my gargoyle girl, my gargoyle girl, gargoyle girl, watch over